Alright, so in this video we're going to review the bass note rhythm options that we have when we add a bass to our Soundtrap project. So I'm going to go to Google Classroom, and under Soundtrap Materials we have this one note bass rhythm organizer. And we're going to open that up, and this is a fillable PDF now. So if I go to print this, it's going to let me fill in these boxes right on the PDF. Okay? So I'm going to put my name up at the top, and under the drum part, I'm going to fill in our basic rock beat. If you want to do something a little different, that's okay, but this is kind of the bare basic one that is going to always sound good. Okay, so I'm going to kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4. Hi-hat is playing eighth notes. Okay, that's the pattern that we did last video. So now if I go over to Soundtrap, I'm going to enter Studio. I'm going to do a new project. This is just to practice. I don't need to worry about saving any of this. Alright. And we're going to do a music. We're going to add drums and beats. I like 80 for a tempo. That's a pretty good tempo. Okay, we're going to record a 4-bar drum loop. So I'm going to go all the way to the start of 5 there. So 4 entire measures. Okay. Go to the instrument panel. Again, I'm going to use U for the hi-hat, and then A and D for the kick and snare. Just like that. Okay, this is what we did last video. So I'm going to record 4 measures of that drum part. 3, 4, here's my bar of hi-hat, and here we go. Alright. Some of you, if you didn't have this cycle tool on, you might end up with a little extra space like that. We don't want that. We want this to go right up to the end of measure 5. So the way that I fix this is I hover over the lower right of the region and then adjust end. If I click and hold, I can clip this back so it's right at the end of measure 4 and start of measure 5. Okay, we're going to quantize to the 8th note, and then I'm going to go to the piano roll, just double check, make sure everything's in the right spot, and that's where I want it. Okay, we're going to go back to our bass rhythm organizer. We did this last semester, but remember there's 3 basic relationships between the bass, the electric bass, the bass guitar, and the kick pattern on the drum set. Okay, relationship 1 is the bass and the kick would play together. So for instance, I would put my C1 on 1 and 3 because that's what my kick is doing. Relationship 2, my bass plays more than my kick. So I might do something like this, where I do C1, I do it again on 3, and then I'm going to add a little pickup here. Okay, and then relationship 3, the bass plays less than the kick, so it would just be, in this instance, I would maybe just put it on the downbeat. Okay, we're going to record relationship number 2. All right, so I'm going to use these dashes to fill in the duration of the bass. So I want the first note to stop right here on the and of 2, and then I want this second note to go all the way to 4, and then I want this and to be just by itself, so space before it and after it. Okay, so this is what I want the bass part to look like. So we're going to go 1 and 2, off, 3 and off and 1. Okay, so if I go back to Soundtrap, we're going to add a track. It's going to be guitar and bass. Now when I add guitar and bass, the stock sound is this mountaintop lead. That's obviously not a bass, that's a guitar. So we're going to change this. If I click on this box, I'm going to go to bass electric. And then I want to go to the clean electric sound. That's a pretty good bass patch. Okay? So you hear that sound right there. Okay? What I want to do is I want to make sure that C1 is on the bottom here. Sometimes you'll have C3 on the bottom. We don't want that. That's way too high for the bass. So I'm going to take this octave menu and I'm going to slide down to where I have C1 down here. Okay? We want C1 on the bottom. Now again, my rhythm on my bass organizer is 1, 3, and 1, 3, and that's slightly more than my kick pattern. Okay? And I want to stop this note on the and of 2, on 4, and then I want this single 8th note to be by itself. Alright, so let's record. I'm going to practice it once. Okay, I'm going to practice it once. So I'm just going to let this play, and I'm going to play along with it. So 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 1, 3. Good. Okay, I'm I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to record. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I'm so sorry. If I go to the keyboard here, the letter Z on my keyboard is going to play that C1. So I'm going to hit Z on my keyboard. Okay, here we go. Time to record. Here we go. And 1, 3, and 1, 3, off, and 1, and 2, off, 3, and off, and 1, and 2, off, 3, and off, and 1. Okay. Now, when I quantize, I played a note on the and here. So I need to quantize to that eighth note subdivision. Okay, so we're going to quantize to the eighth. All right. Now, when I check this in the piano roll, because I have to use the 16th note grid because I want this space before and after that last note. So up here, I'm going to change my grid size to 16th. So now every line is a 16th. Okay? So if we go back, we wanted to be off on the and of 2 with our first note. So if I zoom in here, this is beat 1. This line right here is beat 2, E, and then this one right here is the and. And you can see I kind of hung over a little bit. So I'm going to trim this back so it stops on the and. That way I have 2 full 16th notes of space after that note. All right? If we go back to our organizer, our second note is going to start on 3 and stop on 4. So we start on 3. This line right here is 4, and you can see I hung over a little bit. So I'm going to trim that back. And then our pickup note is on the and. I want this to be 1 full space of a 16th note. So it starts there, but I want to stretch this up to there. So I have 2 boxes of space, 2 boxes of space, 1 box of space. Each box is a 16th note. Okay, so this is what measure 1 should look like. So I'm going to go over here and do this with the rest of these. Even if it looks like it's right, I'm still going to trim it just to be sure. Okay, so this one I was a little early. This one's slightly over, so I'll trim that back. And this one just a little early, way too long. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and play this, make sure that this is right. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to do what I just did. Take relationship 2. Let's do this same relationship. Put it in Soundtrap, quantize it, and then go ahead and trim those ends to match your organizer. Okay, if you forget how to do something, go back in the video and go back to that point where I explain that, and that'll help you get caught up on this.